The live stream, we're going to get started up here with a storm that continues to roll on for much of New England. We have now reached our peak, or at least we're coming into our peak in terms of the storm impact and what you're going to be dealing with. So it's good to have you with us. Thank you for being with us, whether you are watching on the app right now or whether you're watching on the stream itself at 1degreeoutside.live. Some of you undoubtedly are seeing this on a replay. You're seeing this later on. So just a reminder that you can go ahead and skip to the live part of this if you want to stay up to date with what's going on, or if you are watching it from the beginning, we'll go ahead and we'll go on the journey together. There is a chat that's incorporated with this, so you can take part in the chat if you go to 1degreeoutside.live. Also on any of the social media platforms, if you're seeing this right now, you can certainly just comment right in the platform, and I should be able to see all of it right here in real time. So that means that I can answer your questions as we go through this and at least kind of give you an idea of how things are shaking out. One of the biggest things that we've been hearing from folks so far is, when is it going to stop? So you can tell we made that transition. We always hear, when is it going to start? And then after it starts, we hear, when is it going to stop? And so the answer to that is really, there's been no change in our thinking as to when this thing will wind down, which is that between midnight and 1 a.m., a lot of southern New England will see it kind of beginning to at least take a much more noticeable step down in intensity. But if you consider that, that's another 6 hours to go at between 1 and 4 inch per hour snow. So that's another 6 to 2 feet of snow, but it won't do 4 inches the entire time. So bottom line is, you still have a lot of snow left to fall over the course of this night, even just between now and midnight. Some of that will come with rumbles of thunder. We've had reports of thunder snow already in places like Springfield, Massachusetts. We've measured 2.5 inch per hour snow in Sturbridge, Mass, 1.5 inches per hour in places like Hampstead, New Hampshire. Most of us now have crossed at least half a foot, and there are some folks in New England who've already crossed a foot of snow as well. So again, if you're just hopping on board right now and just joining us, good to have you with us. Not only here if you're watching on social media, but if you want to see this on a big screen, open up your smart TV, the YouTube app. Do a search for 1 Degree Outside Network, the number 1 Degree Outside Network, and you'll see what's up behind me. You'll see us streaming right there, where you also get the updated radar imagery that shows up, the watches, the warnings. You can see the Boston, Maine live cams have been awesome to watch during this storm, so you can see them right there on your television if you want. If you're on a PC instead, it's 1degreeoutside.live, but on the smart TV, you get the real big appearance for it. Look at that blowing snow at Kittery, Maine right now. Incredible. Again, that's off the Boston, Maine live, and we're so thankful to them for incorporating their cameras right here into our network. And then you've got what I call Weather Geeks Corner down in the lower left, which is where we have all the updating maps. You can see what's going on across the area. So again, that is right now on your smart TV or at 1degreeoutside.live. So with that, I think we've had a number of folks that have hopped on now. This is probably a good time for me to go ahead and dive into what's happening in terms of the storm and where we stand right now. So for that, let's go ahead and bring up the weather graphic system so you can get a good view. Just a reminder, of course, that, if you have our app, that's great. You can send us pictures via the app in that Send to Us tab at the bottom. If you don't have our app, please make sure you get it. And if you haven't recommended it to friends and family yet, please be sure you do. By the way, sometimes folks say, geez, you're always talking about this. Keep in mind, we are completely independently owned. Danielle and I operate this, and we have no corporate ownership. There are no investors or investor funds. What that means is we go off of your support, you believing in the mission and spreading the word, and of course, off of our partners and sponsors that we have as well. And that's why we talk about them from time to time as well. A reminder on that streaming network, of course, we just talked about that, and I showed you a lot with it. So where do we stand and what's coming up next with regard to the storm? Sure, let's do the headlines for you. First of all, the heaviest of the snow, again, is going to taper between about midnight and 1 a.m. The blowing and drifting, though, that's actually just starting to increase. And now we're going to be on our way to what will be the worst blowing and drifting conditions between about 9 or 10 this evening and about 4 in the morning. So in other words, the blowing and drifting, the wind outlasts the heavy snowfall rate. So just be prepared for some of the areas that have been cleared to blow back in again, because when you get 1.5 feet or 2 feet of snow and you whip the wind at 25, 30, 35, 40 miles an hour, which we'll look at that in just a second, that's what happens, right? There has been a slightly milder onshore wind. The coastal front did indeed form, and that's going to have an impact on how things shake out. We'll look at that here in a second as well. There are periods of lighter snow for tomorrow. There's actually, for some spots, like Central Mass and even the 495 corridor, are going to see a lull for quite some time during the course of the day tomorrow. And then after that, I think we're going to find things, kind of picking up a bit, but nothing like what we're dealing with today and tonight. Tomorrow, we think that in the bursts, when it's a little heavier, it'll still only be half-inch per hour snow, and probably over the course of the day, you're averaging between a tenth to about a third of an inch per hour, and that's where you land. The colder wind is going to snap back in for us as we get to tomorrow midday for a lot of folks in places like the Metro West. And then for the South Shore, it'll probably be tomorrow afternoon. But it does come back. The temperature falls back to the 20s again. And there is some high coastal water tomorrow. In other words, there may be just a touch of very minor coastal flooding. Right now, we create predictions for a couple of different spots at the South Shore in addition to the ones that you see from the government and the National Weather Service. And those predictions that we create bring things right up to minor flood stage, like right at the level for tomorrow at a 440 high tide at the South Shore. So if you're in a super vulnerable spot, that's a possibility. It's also a possibility that the snow banks end up making it so what would be a few inches of water never actually ends up making it, in. So here is the setup, and you can see this was really what I referred to as a textbook storm setup, right? This was just a beautiful feed of moisture coming up from the south and west. It was a disturbance that in our members pre-storm live streams that we do, we talked about how the system was off the coast of California. It was chock full of Pacific moisture. Then it picked up Gulf moisture, which, by the way, you can see here, it's still feeding off of. And of course, at the lower levels of the atmosphere now, we've brought in the Atlantic as well, because the storm center is strengthening to our south. The center of low pressure is south of Long Island. It will track close enough that we are going to be watching a mix coming on to the islands and the Cape between now and about 10 p.m. Once you get to 10 p.m., I think you've got sleet all the way onto Cape Cod. Rather remarkable sleet images and video coming out of the Washington, D.C. area. If I still have that up for you, I'll show that to you in just a couple of minutes. But just torrents of sleet that were coming down. Amazing stuff. And so now as the storm center strengthens and moves south of us, some of us hold the cold, and some of us, again, find what will be kind of a transition over to a mix. Here is the radar as of right now. And so every place you see a little snowflake that shows up on there is a snowfall report. We will spend plenty of time on those snowfall reports before long. On the northern edge of the snowfall reports is where we find our lower amounts, but already up to 3.5 inches in Meredith, New Hampshire. That didn't take long at all. And coming up the coast of Maine, Kennebunkport now has 4.5 inches of snow on the ground. And we were looking at that Boston, Maine live cam out of Kittery, where it's coming down heavily right now and blowing sideways as well. Top-down view, you can get a good feel for where that mix line is. It's coming up over Long Island, and again, it's encroaching on Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard. We had blizzard conditions, but that doesn't mean it's a blizzard. So when we get onto places like Nantucket, we've seen the wind gust to 48 miles an hour, and visibility was down at or below a quarter mile in heavy snow. All you need to do is frequently gust to 35, but you have to do it uninterrupted for 3 hours straight. There were a couple of interruptions there. We had a couple of periods that for 10 or 20 minutes would drop down to a 25 or 30 mile per hour gust. So it may not meet the scientific definition for a blizzard, but there's no question that if you're on the islands and on the Cape, here you go, right? It certainly looks and feels like a blizzard. We zoom in a little bit more and you can see where we have the steady snow that's kind of just filled in across all of the Boston metropolitan area right now. When you kind of switch things over and we take a look together at the National Weather Service radar out of Taunton, Massachusetts, that also gives us a pretty good feel for where that snow is really well in place. Let's see if I can go ahead and swing things over for you and get a look at the Long Island radar as well. And you'll be able to see, no, I guess not. That's all right. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll make our way onto the visit. Oh, there it is. I spoke too soon. Just getting a little ahead of ourselves, I guess. But nonetheless, you can see the heavier bursts of snow in the deeper blue that are coming over Haddam, Connecticut right now, crossing 91. This is where you've got your 2-inch per hour snow, and in some cases, 3-inch per hour snow, a real possibility for us here as well. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a few more, at least reports of thunder snow to come in over the course of the next couple of hours. In Maine, again, your steady snow is falling up and down the Maine Turnpike. turnpike, and this obviously immediately coated the roads when it came in. So the roads are a mess now because they were so cold in the first place. There was really no pre-treatment you could do that would be effective for this. And up across the north country of New England, we're waiting on the precipitation to fill in, but it will do exactly that across northern Maine. You don't get as much, but you'll get some, and we'll take a look at the forecast map in just a minute. Here's your current visibility, and again, if you're on right now, I will take a look at the chat so we can do a little bit of interaction together. If you're watching on your smart TV, that's a little bit harder to do, but if you're watching at 1degreeoutside.live, that's something that you are able to do, is take part in the chat pretty easily. If you're watching on the app right now, you'll find that I will, from time to time, tell you about what I'm showing on the screen, because I know sometimes it's hard to see it on the little screen. But what we're looking at right now is visibility because of snow. When you get down around a quarter mile, we call it essentially whiteout conditions, and we've got that going on all over the place right now. Whether you're at Chatham, whether you're at Providence and Pawtucket, Worcester over to Beverly, Marshfield, Hanscom Air Force Base, Lawrence, and where it's not a quarter mile, it's a half mile. So generally, you've got half-inch per hour snow that's going in those half-mile spots, but it's been such a lighter consistency snow that it's been able to add up actually a little bit quicker than that, and that's why you've been able to exceed 1 and 2 inches per hour in spots. You can see 3/4 mile visibility at Laconia and Lebanon. That Rochester report of 20 miles certainly isn't right. Notice as we get toward 11 p.m., it is still snowing heavily in central and eastern Massachusetts, Rhode Island, southeast New Hampshire, right up the coast of Maine. What stands out to me, and I was talking with Danielle about this earlier, I am just astounded by how cold of a snow this has been. It began snowing and it was 2 degrees in Worcester this morning. I mean, I don't remember the last time it was that cold in southern New England. So I can remember that in northern New England, but it's been a long time. We're talking about this being the biggest storm in 4 years. I went back and tried to look at when it was the coldest storm since, and that's pretty hard to find a record for. So that's going to take a little bit more digging, I think. But this would definitely be one in my 25 years of doing New England weather that stands out as probably one of the coldest, if not the coldest, snowstorm start for southern New England. Notice by 1:45 in the morning, striations of the deeper blue kind of left over. I mean, you got to figure we've got a northeasterly wind that still will be blowing east-northeast during the course of the night. That does mean there'll be some ocean-enhanced, and not really ocean effect, but at least ocean-enhanced bands of snow that continue to come in. So in some spots, although I'm saying midnight to 1, it steps back. Not everybody does. One of those not everybody spots is probably going to be Plum Island, Newburyport, Seabrook, and then stretch down I-495 through West Newbury, Amesbury, perhaps to Haverhill as well. That's one of the bands that gets left over. You can see even at 4 in the morning, it's still trying to hold on right up the New Hampshire seacoast into the southern Maine coast. The other area is going to be from Boston down to the South Shore at 8 in the morning. I mean, the snow is still coming down, right? And you still have a wind that's coming off the ocean. The wind really won't snap until we get to about midday, and then it comes out of the north-northwest and brings in the colder air and sends the temperature back down again. Notice the current wind gust. Remember I was talking about Nantucket, right? So there we go. We're still gusting to 45. Chatham's into it now too. Yes, this is blizzard conditions at Chatham. I don't know that it will verify for being completely uninterrupted and continuous for 3 hours, but it is disorienting and it makes travel nearly impossible. And that wind is just starting to creep up the South Shore now. The coastal front has come in. That's why the wind is increasing. So you're gusting 30 to 35. Boston will be the next place to do it, although the farther inland you go, the harder it will be to get that to completely move inland. We think gusts to 25, though, make it all the way out to the 95 corridor, which means blowing and drifting for you as well. The winds are also gusty when you get into the high terrain of western New England. A little bit of elevation makes a difference, particularly when you get an east wind like this up against the Berkshires. North Adams gusting upwards of 40 miles per hour right now. And along the coast of Maine, we haven't really seen the increase yet, but we will. Here's a look at the wind forecast just over the course of the night. You can see gusts over 40 are possible in Boston by 10 p.m. We may gust higher still in the Greens and the Berkshires. So, yeah, this starts to raise the issue of isolated power outages, because although this hasn't been a real wet, pasty snow, it's definitely changing consistency where we've brought the wind off of the ocean. and now you're going to add stress and strain to the limbs by having the wind, and so if you have a weakened limb that comes down on the lines, that can be problematic. So that's why we do think that there will probably be additional outages that will crop up during the overnight. Notice as we get to midnight, you've still got gusts going over 30, and that's why I say the worst winds are really through 4 a.m. By about 5 o'clock in the morning, you're still gusty on the Cape and the South Shore. Most of us have kind of rounded the bend in terms of wind by the time we get to that point. And then during the day tomorrow, we just wait on that wind shift to occur. Just getting a report from the Skywarn spotter network, we have indeed started to see sleet mixing in when you get onto Cape Cod, and Nantucket sits at 9.5 inches of snow right now. So again, the predicted radar going in through tomorrow, because a lot of you want to know, can I get back to the routine tomorrow? I think the issue is there's so much snow to clear out. That's going to be a hard thing to do, right? A lot of the local roadways, it's going to take until sometime tomorrow to get 1.5 to 2 feet of snow cleared off. But nonetheless, you can see the snow that continues to kind of pulse through the day. There actually looks to be, after perhaps a lull for some folks between about, let's say, 4 a.m. and about 10 a.m., and that's particularly true in Central Mass in the 495 corridor, you fill it back in with at least a pulse of probably 1/3 to 1/2 inch per hour snow that comes through tomorrow evening, and then finally, you're done. This all moves off to the east. By the time we get to Tuesday morning, it's cold, but it is fairly quiet, and you've got another disturbance later Tuesday that probably just brings snow showers and flurries with it as it comes by. Snowfall rate, how hard is it snowing? You can see the legend up the top there, and this is something I really did just throw together this afternoon, so that's why the legend is not quite perfect in terms of the way it looks, but nonetheless, the white is the 1/2 inch per hour snow. The light blue is where you start to transition to inch per hour. The darker blue is 1.5 inches per hour, and then that deep blue you see over the New Hampshire seacoast is where you have 2 inch per hour snow. So notice we generally are still at about 1.5 inches per hour all the way through about midnight. And then even still, that's what I meant about that northern Essex County, coastal Rockingham, and southern York County still cranking out on the order of inch per hour snow through 2 a.m. and just not wanting to see it go. But you can definitely see the difference tomorrow morning, right? Yeah, it's a whole new world. So this means we're going to find that the road crews will be able to make progress. It'll take time on the back roads and small roads, but they will be able to make progress over the course of the day. Total snow map, we really haven't changed from what Danielle showed you this morning, what I showed you at midday. I think everything remains on target, right? We said that Nantucket's checked in with 9.5 and finding sleet mixing in. You can see they were at the 8 to 12. We think we're probably at a 12 to 18 for a lot of the remainder of far southern New England. You pick up the 18 to 24 the farther north that you go. And then, yes, we had the 24 to 30 that we put on this morning. I guess we've got a little bit of an overlap there on the south side near Hanson, but Hanson, you'll probably be in the 18 to 24. That 24 to 30 should run from Cohasset to Rockland and then up to Quincy, perhaps all the way out to Dedham. This is just on the cold side of the coastal front, and as that coastal front moves in. Same thing on the eastern slopes of the Berkshires, where the wind pushes up against the mountain faces into the southern Greens. And again, there's that other band that we talked about from Haverhill and West Newbury, Groveland through Amesbury, up through Portsmouth, Exeter, Rye, and then up to Wells and Kittery and Saco. This is your other area that may be able to top 2 feet. I think a lot of the spots in that 24 to 30 are probably on the 24 side, but at the same time, you will be able to tip the scale by the way things are looking, just because of the sheer amount of snow left to fall tonight. The farther north you go, again, you don't really start running out of moisture until you get into parts of northern Maine. So it seems like this is a good spot for me to take a little break and see exactly what you guys have to say and kind of catch up on the chat. And then I've got a little bit more I can dive into, but I always like to, if I can, kind of cover some of your questions and some of your thoughts. So let's see where we're at here, and let's scroll through. We got a lot of chat coming in. Appreciate everybody who's here and chiming in. This one's a doozy, says Gina. Cleared my driveway at halftime. Looks like I didn't even touch it. Well, Gina, you know, you did some work on it anyway, and that's a step in the right direction, right? You did better than Danielle and I did, so congratulations on that. Good evening. As of 6:30, Pembroke received 10.9 inches of snow. Brandon, thanks for that. And you know, when you consider you still have about another 6 hours to go, that goes to figure you probably are are going to be somewhere around that 20-inch zone by the time you're done, although Pembroke gets a little bit of a wetter consistency as time goes on, so it may not add up quite as quickly in the second half, but nonetheless, I think you're still on target. Let's see, Jay Cody says about 11 to 12 in Northampton, New Hampshire so far. Excellent. Mike says all snow in Northeast Ham, around 10 inches so far, drifts to 2 feet and 45-mile-per-hour gusts. Mary Kay says, pretty sure we've seen over 12 in Framingham in the hour we went out and shoveled. 2 inches dropped during that time. Isn't that amazing, Mary Kay? That has been very common. We've had a widespread 2 inches that have been per hour that have been coming down around the area. Some spots have been able to tip the scale to 3. I bet in his last kind of burst that's going to be coming through, someone may hit 3 to 4. In an hour. Wouldn't shock me. 10 inches so far in Hudson, New Hampshire. Dana, thanks for the heads up on that. 10 inches in Holden at 900 feet, coming down at 2 inches per hour, says Bill. Any dry slot coming in tonight, says Jim. Yes, for the South Coast. That will be happening at the South Coast. And as a matter of fact, now that we're making that change to sleet, there will be a little bit of drier air aloft that causes things to get quieter at the South Coast before everybody else. Then, frankly, yes, dry air aloft is why we're calling for what will be everybody to throttle back once we get, well, everybody, the few exceptions I showed you off the ocean, to throttle back between about midnight and 1. Matt, where's your Patriots jersey? Forget the suit. I like that, Art. You called me out on it, and you're right. I did take the tie off for the Patriots game after folks told me I should take it off, and my wife said take it off. So, okay, I did. But nonetheless, it's a snowstorm. You got to have your best on if you're a weatherman. In Wilmington, do I go out now and snowblow or wait till tomorrow, asked Frankie. Well, here's the honest answer to that. Frankie, it depends on your personal preference, right? Which is to say, you go out there now, the wind chill in Wilmington is going to be in the single digits. It's going to be snowing like crazy. It's going to go down your jacket and down your shirt, and it's going to be an uncomfortable experience for you. And you're going to do what some of these other folks have said that they've done, which is you're going to finish, and it's going to look like you didn't do it. But you will have taken care of the first 10 inches of snow, and that's going to be that much less they have to handle tomorrow. So some of that depends on, if you've got what size of a snowblower you have, or if you're shoveling or whatever the case might be. But bottom line, it comes down to whether or not you want to handle a big chunk at once or not. It's so light, I should have pulled out my leaf blower. Yeah, Maria, this is the first part of the storm. Not sure where you are, but anywhere near and south of the Pike, we're going to start to see a little bit wetter consistency come on as we get into the second half of the storm. Watchers, make sure you like the video so more are notified. Oh, thank you, Jay Cody. I actually didn't even know. I knew about liking and subscribing. Didn't even know that that makes more people be notified. So thanks. Yeah, sure. Like the video. Sounds great. Jim, Matt, I'll ask again, Coastal Front's app. Jim, I think we answered that, right? Yes, we got the Coastal Front. Mary, thanks for the support. Yeah, Mike says, ridiculous the cold air hasn't relented and the storm lunged in. 9 inches in Haverhill. All right, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Let's see, west side of Haverhill, 9.5 inches. All right. Oh, Charles Royce. Hi, Dad. Very good. Okay, let's see. Well, thank you. Welcome, everybody. This is great. Just going through the chat and catching up. Any reports of thunder snow yet, asked Adam. Yes, Adam. West Springfield, Massachusetts had some thunder snow earlier, and I'm willing to bet that won't be the last of the reports. Can we see the wind speed and direction, how it swings? Yes. If you weren't watching when I just did the last time around a couple of moments ago, I absolutely can do that again. What time will the storm be done? If you missed that earlier, generally between midnight and 1. For a lot of folks, it steps back, but it's not entirely done. I mean, it's going to snow off and on tomorrow, just way lighter. It's not entirely done until about 8 or 9 p.m. tomorrow evening for a lot of folks in eastern New England. Tess asks about ice predictions on the Cape. Tess, it looks like you're probably not going to sleet a huge amount. I think you're going to put a coating of sleet on top of this snow, but I don't think that it's going to be, there should not be a freezing rain event. Your temperature is going to actually tick up even more. So after you sleet for a while, you'll actually end up as some raindrops, which will weigh the snow down. So on the Cape, if you're going to be up late enough tonight that you can go ahead and snowblow or shovel after the sleet has come to an end, that'll help you out because it won't be just quite so heavy as we get to tomorrow morning as it would be otherwise because of that changeover. 2 inches per hour in North Reading. Will, thank you very much for the answer on that. Appreciate it. About a foot in Brighton. Good to know. 10 to 12 in Falmouth. Blizzard-like for the past 2 or 3 hours. hours. Very good. Will says, where's Matt reporting from? Good question. We're from our house right now, and I'll tell you why. We have our office and studio, but there's no generator back up there. And so I actually yesterday went and was lugging our graphics computer to the house because we do have a generator here. So we knew that if we did lose power, we'd still be able to conduct our weather coverage. So I've shifted from our normal studio into our home right now, where, of course, we still have a green screen as well. And that's where we can do some of the more standard videos. Seems like we're getting a little less than predicted so far. Is that a thing or no? MRC Northeast, Portsmouth, New Hampshire. I don't think so. You'll have to tell me what you have, but when you consider the fact that we still have, 6 hours to go with an average of 2 inches per hour, we should have somewhere around another foot, and then Portsmouth will still get an onshore wind even after that, and you're still going to add about 2 more inches tomorrow during the day. So it's just that basically the snow totals are through Tuesday morning that we're forecasting. So while the bulk of it does come tonight, you are going to just continue to add to it little by little over the course of tomorrow. Enjoying the multitude of maps. Oh, is there... the endless mats, yes, in the distance. Oh, the poor world. Let's see. Chris says that thundersnow is also accompanied by 8th mile visibility and an air temp of 7. That's what I'm talking about. I mentioned earlier, I don't remember the last time we had a storm this cold and this size storm, especially in the southern half of New England. It really is remarkable stuff. Still 11 degrees in Andover. Do you expect it to warm 10 plus degrees overnight? Andover is going to sit right on the edge, and I'll show you that here in just a second. I actually think that probably in Andover, you'll end up getting up to about 20, maybe 22 by about 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. That's if the coastal front can come in. I don't think you're going to make it to the melting point at all. And then probably tomorrow you're going to sit very close to 20 or so. Well over a foot in Upton. Yeah, see, Art says that's down in Upton, Mass. That's the stuff moving north. And that's why I say for folks like Portsmouth, New Hampshire, Northern Mass, Southern New Hampshire, it's still coming. It's still coming at you. 6 hours to go for the North Shore. I would say, Nan, yeah, then that's just on this heavy stuff. Then after that, there's still going to be this lighter snowfall rates that continue for a lot of the night and then off and on during the day tomorrow. School closings on Tuesday, asks Edgar. Answer to that is going to be depends on the community. And that's because there's all different levels of staffing for all different town and city departments. And we've discovered that through the course of this storm and some of the others. So honestly, we're going to have to see exactly how your town shakes out. The other thing is for some of the cities where the kids walk to school, that means that you have to really clear out all of the sidewalks as well. That usually takes extra time. So there definitely will be cities and towns that don't have school on Tuesday. A lot of that is very, very local as to where things stand in your city or town right now. I hope that makes sense. Plowed the driveway twice now. First was 9 inches, now another 7 in Auburn, Mass. Amazing. Wow. So you're well on your way to 18 to 24. That is really incredible stuff. Wind swinging from north-northwest to north. Okay, very good. And that's in Amesbury. Okay, very good. Very good. So you have yet to even see any eastern component to that wind, which makes sense. We'll look at that in just a second. Londonderry, New Hampshire, Wayne says, 7 p.m., 9 degrees Fahrenheit and 11 inches on the ground. Wow, Mopar Nick saying, got to be over a foot, hard to tell in Ashby, Mass. Leaf blower was hard at work on the front walk. Good. So you got that nice light consistency. Okay, somebody's saying that the YouTube volume is really low. That's interesting. And I'm not sure what to tell you on that. I've got it up pretty high on this end. So, I'm looking at the audio mixer and it's almost in the red. So I'm not quite sure. Let's see if I can raise it. Hold on. What if I raise it? All right, let's try it now. See if this is any better. Maybe this is gonna do something for you. You should maybe be hearing me come through a little bit louder now. I'm actually remoted into our server, which is at our studio, and so I actually just turned up the volume on that remotely. So I'll be curious to see if you hear anything out of that. Somebody's saying the audio is fine. Good. Okay. Good. Plows aren't running in NR. I'm going to guess maybe that's North Reading or something, but the cars are staying off the road on 28. So, yeah, it must be North Reading. 11 inches, 11 degrees in Tingsboro, says Ken, snowing moderate to heavy. Excellent. Let me take you on a little bit of a tour here and show you some of the other stuff I've been looking at. We'll dig a little bit deeper here. And let's see. Well, that's not the window I wanted to show you, is it? Okay. Properties. We'll pick our correct window. Oh, well, you know what? That's interesting. All right, we'll do this one. It looks like I may have closed the window I wanted, but that's all right. So here we go. This was Nantucket Airport. This is a graph of temperature dew point, right? So you can see the temperature has been on the rise and the relative humidity has been on the rise as the dew point and temperature have met. So we now have a fog that's moved into Nantucket. Why do I show you Nantucket? Those of you on a small screen won't be able to see, so I'll tell you. We continue to see gusts going 44 miles per hour on the island right now. We've had frequent gusts that have been up over 35. The question is, would this qualify as a blizzard? And the answer is probably not. You need 3 consecutive hours. We did 3 hours, but there were some breaks in here along the way where the wind died down. Some of this is going to come down to, the ones to officially certify it will be the National Weather Service. And so they may look at something and say, well, from 540 to 550, there was a break where it didn't gust to 35, so we're not sure whether that's actually going to meet the criteria. But this is where we have to be really careful as a science, that we don't alienate ourselves from the general public, right? Because, look, I know and you know that, okay, it might have not been that windy for like 10 minutes. But that felt a lot like a blizzard, right? And that is exactly where we're at. So while I certainly respect the science part of this, at the same time, it is really important that we understand that, look, if it's blizzard conditions anyway, and that's what we've certainly met. This is a surface map. It's a little bit of a kind of geekier look at what's going on, but this backs up a lot of what we were just hearing from your reports. So notice that when you get around the South Shore, you've got an east-northeast wind now from Plymouth up to Marshfield, and the temperature is ticked up to between 25 and 27 degrees. By the way, same exact temperature when you get to the Outer Cape, so you're probably not going to find much additional temperature rise at the South Shore, but this has been sufficient to get the snow to switch over to a little bit wetter consistency snow. Well, on the other side of that, when you come farther inland, notice it's 25 at Taunton, so you've had some of that ocean modified air, but it's 10 degrees right now in Smithville, Rhode Island, and you've got a north-northeast wind. So in other words, we're seeing the cold side of the coastal front setting up on the west side of Bristol County, and that also extends up to places like Norwood, right, where it's 23 right now with an east-northeast wind. Here's the cold side of that frontal boundary setting up over Framingham, the Metro West, where we just heard from Art in Upton on the cold side of the boundary. That goes up I-95 north and west of Boston. It's only 14 at Hanscom Air Force Base versus 24 when you get to Logan. So again, there's your coastal front, and typically it's right on the cold side of the coastal front where you see the more significant amounts of snow that pile up. So I think this is exactly what we're going to find lined up through Essex County, as I was mentioning a short time ago, Rockingham County, Southern York County for that matter as well. By the way, farther to the north, it is still one cold snowstorm. It's incredible. Springfield, Vermont is 2 degrees right now, 3/4 mile visibility in snow, 5 degrees with moderate snow, and 1/4 mile visibility at Portland, Maine. And that's the case basically all the way up the Maine Turnpike to Augusta with a report of freezing fog at 3 degrees and a dew point of -1. Pretty amazing setup that we're seeing going on. Next question that you might have would be, how much snow has fallen so far? So for that, we turn to the map, and these reports are coming in courtesy of the Skywarn Spotter Network. You might have heard me talk about them quite a bit. We have a great partnership with the Skywarn Spotter Network. This is the network of thousands of dedicated individuals across New England and the United States, but here, New England, that send in their reports regularly and throughout the storms. A lot of you are on this chat right now, and I appreciate you. That partnership that we have with Skywarn is that if you send any of your reports, your photos, your reports, through the Send to Us tab of our app, that immediately goes to the Skywarn Spotter Network, and of course all of those are fed to the National Weather Service. So We're very much about working as a community and working together. And so we're excited about that relationship with the Skywarn spotters. So what are the spotters telling us so far? Well, we're up to 13 inches of snow in Danielson, Connecticut. We're up to just about 13.8 in Storrs, Connecticut. We are at 14 inches in Burlington, Connecticut. We've got 14 inches to the north in Simsbury, Connecticut. A couple of reports of that. Widespread amounts of 10 to 13 across southern Connecticut. And then the farther north that we go, again, we're just getting into some of this stuff that has been lifting up from the south. But North Granby, Connecticut has 12.5 on the ground right now, 8 inches when you get around Pittsfield. You guys have been sharing your reports and telling me that you're above some of these, which is great to know. 11 inches on the ground right now in Lowell, 10 inches when you get up around Newburyport. That certainly matches the Haverhill reports that you were just sharing. For those of you watching from farther north in New England, fewer reports that are coming in right now, but nonetheless, you've already got 8.5 inches on the ground in Alfred, Maine. We've done the same thing, 8.5 inches in Rye, and you're already past 6.5 in Bradford, New Hampshire. So a big expansion that's been going on here of the snow totals working off to the north as we find that more intense snow kind of working in. You can zoom out and see that with the color coding anyway, you've got amounts of 8 to 12 and 12 to 18 running all the way back through northeast portions of Pennsylvania, southeast New York from the Catskills all the way down into northwest Jersey for that matter as well. So this has been a wide-ranging storm. Actually, if I increase the time of reports to the last 12 hours and I zoom out a little more, we should be able to see more of the country. This map is working a little slow for us, but it'll give it yeah, there you go. Look at that path that came through the upper Ohio Valley, came all the way through the Pittsburgh area, and now has made its way right here into the Northeast as well. I think I'm making the computer angry, but you get the idea. Power outages, how are we doing on those? We're talking about 2,000 power outages right now in the state of Massachusetts anyway. And most of that has been focused around the Boston Metro or down into the South Shore. Again, think about this for a second. When you look at the power outage map, where do you see most of those outages? On the warm side of the coastal front, right? Didn't we analyze that coastal front near 95 and then running back down into Bristol County? So in other words, that's your proof positive right there that you're seeing a trend toward what is a little bit wetter and heavier consistency snow. And so that is definitely something that is going to continue to be a factor, particularly when you consider the winds still need to increase and the worst wind isn't until 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. and that there's plenty more snow to go. So there absolutely will be more power outages that will occur. I still think that they're probably in pockets rather than widespread terrible outages, but you know, part of the reason Danielle and I were talking about that over the course of the past... hi, Danielle.
Hello.
How's it going back there?
It's going well.
Oh, good. Come on over and say hi to everybody.
I'm just going to do a little radio.
Right over here.
Okay.
There you are. That's
Hi.
Right. That's right.
Great job.
You're going to be updating radio for our Cape Cod radio stations? Very
Yep.
good. I know she was on WBUR all through the day today,
Yes.
providing updates there. And have we heard from any of our private partners? Or they're all working their tails off?
They're all working their tails off. National Weather Service just said they're going to keep a close eye on Chatham to verify a blizzard, but it looks like they may have kind of
just a little break.
Just a little break.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Okay. All right.
I'll see you in a few.
Okay. Thanks, Danielle. All right. Sounds great. So you know, I mean, and that's Danielle's keying on the same thing, right, that we were talking about earlier, which is the fact that there was just a slight break, which scientifically is a little bit of a different story. Want to show you something really cool that we put together here. Let me see if I can bring that up on the screen for you. This is something that if you're watching on your phone, it's going to be a little harder to see. But if you're watching right now on the big screen on your smart TV, which by the way, if you didn't hear me earlier and you want to watch on your smart TV, go to the YouTube app and then just do a search for the 1 Degree Outside Network and you'll find us. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. This is a delightful map that we built in-house, which is fantastic. And so some of you may have heard that Aaron Perry, who I worked with at NBC for many years behind the scenes, he's been wonderful in helping us out to build some really cool products. And this is one of them. And this is a great look at temperatures in high detail. And so what we've got is we've got it color coded. So the light blue that you're seeing here are all temperatures in the 20s. That's almost out to Waltham. You've got it at Cambridge right now, but at Watertown, it's 14 to 18 degrees around town. Lexington is about 11 or 12, and Framingham's 9. So you can really see that coastal front very clearly when you do this. Right now, Norwood is 12 degrees, Canton is 12, but it's 22 in Randolph. Isn't that crazy? 12 in Canton and 22 at Randolph. If you know that area well, that is like a stone's throw. It's pretty incredible, right? You get down to Mansfield and it's 14, but West Bridgewater's 23. So that is your coastal front. We all know that warm and cold air colliding tends to make the biggest issues with regard to heavy snow. So that's one of the areas we watch. The other one is up to the north. Again, we had talked about Essex County. Well, here you go. Haverhill is 9, 10 degrees. You come right down, to Amesbury, it's 20, and Newburyport is in the 20s. So there again is that real collision of air that's going to help to fuel that band we looked at that'll be persistent when you get across parts of interior northeast Massachusetts. Checking out the chat and what you have to say since the last time I checked in with you. Grateful to be part of the Skywarn community. Glad to hear that. That's wonderful. Made up to Waterville Valley this morning. Fantastic. Good. Weather station read 22.3 at 1 p.m. Same time Foxborough was 8. Yeah, that's right. And my guess is, I'm not sure where you're at, but my guess is you're very close to Foxborough, and it was a big difference, right? That makes a lot of sense. Okay, one other thing that I want to make sure that we run down for you here is why don't we go ahead and go back to the weather graphic system if I can. Maybe I can't. No, it looks like I've disconnected, haven't I? No, I shouldn't have. Give me a second here. I'll figure it out. Or I won't. All right, maybe I won't, but nonetheless, what we'll end up doing is going back to the weather graphic system and taking a look together at where we're looking at the wind shift, because one of you had asked about the wind shift and how that whole thing was going to set up. So let me see if I can go ahead and pull that up for us, and I see what my problem was now. I get it. All right, stand by. We'll go ahead and we'll make this switch this time, and I think this time it's really going to work. Yes. All right, very good. That was user error on my part. So, someone had asked about the wind and if we could take another look at that and exactly when the wind was going to shift. So, no problem. I'd be happy to. Here we go. This is your wind forecast. So, the streamlines you can see in white, and these streamlines indicate, of course, wind direction. So notice that you've got that east-northeasterly wind trying to penetrate inland. It's not going to make it all the way in across Rhode Island. It's going to put the brakes on around I-95. But the part that I think you wanted to know about in particular is when we see the wind shift that's expected to happen, right? So let's go ahead and take a look together, and you can see the streamline shift coming at midnight. It's already back in across 495. So you never really change the air at 495. You stay cold. Here comes the shift slowing down tremendously, coming to 95 as we get to tomorrow at 5 a.m. Inside of 95, as we get to 10 a.m., it's finally through Boston. I don't know if you can make it out there, but you've got the streamlines coming together right over the city between 10 a.m. and noon tomorrow. And then shortly thereafter, it'll be coming through the South Shore. So that's kind of how that should shake out, is basically the farther inland you are, that's why I say you certainly never make it to melting. You probably barely make it to 20 if you're along the 495 belt. If you're inside of 495, you do make it into the 20s, but you turn the beat around really early tomorrow morning from 495 to 95, and then later in the morning to the midday when you get from Boston or the South Shore, maybe midday to 1 p.m. or somewhere thereabouts. If you're just kind of checking in, the big thing on tomorrow is that we do expect to find these periods of snow. Do you notice this is the map at noon? There's a big hole that shows up, isn't there? Across eastern Massachusetts, southeast New Hampshire, there are going to be big lulls tomorrow. And that's great news for a lot of our road crews. The only thing is when it pulses, because it will come back from time to time, all the way through about 8 o'clock tomorrow evening, it'll come back from time to time. It'll be pulsing to about ½ inch per hour snow. That will be sufficient to cover the roads, to cover the driveway again. So it's going to be one of these things where either you're going to do the big clear out in the morning, or if you're up until after midnight, I'm sure your neighbors would appreciate that. You do the big clear out in the morning, and then you'll still have to do another clean up tomorrow afternoon. Tuesday, no real big deal. You've got what's kind of just these leftover lighter snow showers. We had looked at this too, if you missed it earlier. The snow rate, where you've got 1 inch per hour snow in that light blue, and the darker blue is 1.5 inches per hour. So notice at 8:45, it's still going strong at 1.5 inches per hour. In Northeast Mass at 10:45 still is. The rest of us, though, are still going at inch per hour snow in light blue all the way through 11 to about midnight. And then finally, as we get past about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, a lot of us will start to see that overall intensity begin to back down just a little bit for us here. Overnight tonight, if you are going to be going out there and trying to clear anything out, just keep in mind, anywhere outside of that coastal front, it is just downright frigid, right? You've got feels like temperatures or wind chills that are running around or below zero, depending on where you look. We get into tomorrow, and we're talking about a feels like prediction that never gets out of the teens, and that's the best that we'll probably do. In terms of what's coming next, because I know we always think about what's next for the storms, what are we talking about for the next storm chance? There's not a lot to write home about over the next coming days. There's a cold front that comes at us, actually a warm and cold front combo. Again, that's a disturbance Tuesday, but I think it's fairly disorganized as it comes on by. And once it comes through with a couple of snow showers late Tuesday, it just reinforces the cold, dry air. The jet stream actually just is not configured to have a good storm develop over us. Notice offshore, there'll be a series of storms that keep developing out over the ocean, but they keep staying out there. So not really worried about that for the rest of this week. Even this weekend, I think probably is too soon for the jet stream to recover. I think we're going to have to wait until the early part of next week. You know, I do mention this from time to time. Membership, if you want to support what we do, you certainly can do that there. Why do we talk about that? I mentioned it earlier, but if you didn't hear it, there is no corporate ownership. There's no investor money, nothing like that. It's us and it's you. And it's our sponsors and our partners who you see the ads in our app for and on our videos for. So we appreciate everybody. And if you'd like to take part in that, you certainly can. Okay, let me get back over now to our chat and see what else we have that you have to ask about or talk about. At least 18 inches of snow on the flat on the northwest side of Taunton. Wow, Chris, that's remarkable. You've already got 18 inches that's on the ground. Now, you're going over to that wetter consistency snow as we start to find a warmer air working into Taunton, but that's still really impressive that's what you've got. So that's great. So you made it to where you needed to be in terms of that, and you're just going to add a little bit more icing on the cake on top of that. You guys ready? Check this out. I want to show you. I'm going to put the browser back on. All right. This is fascinating. I saw this come through earlier. So this was on X, and this is the sleet that was coming down across the Washington, D.C. area. Check this out. You ready? Look at that. You see that? It looks like torrents of rain. That's all sleet. So it snowed and it turned to sleet. And that's how hard it was coming down out of the Washington, D.C. area. Absolutely fascinating. I don't know that I've ever seen sleet quite like that before. That was really amazing. Meanwhile, still hearing folks that are chiming in on social media with us. We appreciate everybody who is. Craig in North Weymouth says there's 9.5 inches of snow that's on the ground. There's the ruler to prove it. And this is the view right now in North Weymouth. Look at that. That is classic New England snowstorm, isn't it? Craig, thanks for sending along these pictures. Really appreciate this. Out there getting the workout, too. I like that. I like that. It's fantastic. Let's see. What do we have here? Oh, that's a celebration of the Patriots. Oh, my gosh. Chris sent this along 45 minutes ago. And this is, look at that. That's the Nest Cam view in Eastham, Massachusetts, out on the Outer Cape. Is that remarkable or what? Amazing views. Wow. Thanks everybody who shares this stuff with us, whether it's through our send to us tab of our app or whether you're doing it through social media. We really appreciate that. Thank you for sending it along. All right. Meanwhile, let's see. Back to the chat. I asked last night, but anything shaping up for a decent storm next weekend? So Mopar Nick, I think I might have just answered that, unless you don't mean this coming weekend. If you mean the weekend after, then there is a possibility that we've got a little something brewing then. So maybe you're looking like way out. And if you are looking way out, I'll go ahead and show you exactly what we're looking at there. We'll get just a little bit geeky on the weather for us for just 1 second. So basically what happens is, okay. As we swing back over to the weather pattern, you can infer the jet stream to be found basically right along the tight packing of colored lines that are right here. And so essentially you've got a flow from the northwest. And while that is not perfect, this is the weekend of, February 7th. While that's not perfect for getting a storm development, at the same time, this does at least open the door that if you get a strong enough disturbance to dig in, you could tilt that trough or that dip in the jet stream a little farther west and get storm development to show up there. So that is a possibility for us that by the time we get not to this coming weekend, the one after, I think there's more interest though to be had, even in the early part of the upcoming week, right? Because after we get through with what again doesn't appear to be a super favorable pattern, at least the first half of this weekend, by Sunday, Monday of this upcoming weekend, really more into Monday, you've still got at least a favorable pattern to try and bring some snow back into play. It doesn't look like anything like this would be shaping up right now, but nonetheless, you are going into a pattern that's going to be very favorable for storm development again from the beginning to middle of February, not like February 1st, 2nd, 3rd, but basically once you get about a week into February and then running out through the middle of the month, you probably go back to a pretty favorable pattern for storminess. Just seeing more reports coming in from Cape Cod that we're over to sleet. And there's quite a bit of it now that's come in on the Cape. So that continues to be the case down on the Cape. So look, this is where we stand in terms of the storm right now. And if you have any more questions or thoughts to share on the chat, I invite you to do it certainly. But what we'll do is we have an evening video that we're going to be putting up for you on the network. Certainly we'll be pushing that out on the app and on the website as well. We think that at this point, it's funny, we were hearing from some folks earlier, they were kind of stunned that we weren't live streaming all day long for this. But at the same time, our job, we look at it like our job is to get you good forecasts. And as long as we do that, and even having a weather network, we look at that as that's our job, is to get good forecasts. And as long as things are working the way they should, shaping up the way they should, we're certainly going to update you when things are going on. But at the same time, it's not one of these things where, like the old days when I was on TV and we had to be on just for the sake of talking and being on. We don't quite look at it that way any longer. And we say, you know what? Get good information to folks when you can, and then give them their lives back. So that's kind of where we're at here. So I don't know that we'll be up with you again tonight. Perhaps if we get some real big thunder snow or there's something like that. But at this point on a Sunday night after a big Patriots win headed to the Super Bowl, we know most folks are tucked in and just kind of dealing with this at home. And that's what a lot of you are doing right now, or they're out working their tails off, clearing this thing out on the streets and the highways and byways. So, and we're going to support them. We have a series of private partners that we support. So, we'll be up all night making sure that we take care of them and provide them with what they need all across eastern Massachusetts. But folks, I hope that this has at least been something that's been helpful for you to get an idea and a handle on where we're at with the storm. Looks like Chris just checked in, says definitely a foot in Agawam. Snow feels icy. Yeah, making that changeover, right? Or at least that change of consistency, so to speak, with the storm. No question about that. I don't know that you'll ever change completely over from snow, but you've got a change of consistency. No question about that. So there we go. We've got it. We're on our way to what will be another 18 to 24 inch snowfall for so many, and 24 plus for those few that we looked at. We'll get the regular videos up for you. You can stay with the Weather Channel if you want with the weather stream that we've got here. Again, I think it's fun during a storm because you've got the radar that's constantly updated, the Boston, Maine live cams that are fantastic, and you can see the constantly updating weather maps down in that lower left corner. So check it out if you haven't already, 1degreeoutside.live, or on your smart TV, the YouTube app, search 1 Degree Outside Network. That's the way it looks for now. Thanks for checking in, and we will look forward to seeing you with the updates all through the evening and again